everyone. Welcome to our January demo day. I'm Shayla Smith, your account development executive, and joining me today is Sam Barron, one of CallTower's Senior Director of Channel Sales. We're excited to kick off the new year with a game-changing solution for your communications.
That's right, Shayla. We've actually got a fantastic event lined up for you guys. You'll hear from Chief Revenue Officer William Rubio and also our Marketing Manager, Kate Herbert. Kate and William are going to be diving into some incredible solutions. It's going to make your business communication stay strong, even when the unexpected happens.
Right. Today's all about starting 2025 with confidence, and we're going to show you how to keep your communication running smoothly during any outage. We'll cover features like One-Click Failover for Microsoft Teams, CT Cloud SIP, and CT Cloud Boost.
Yeah, that's right, Shayla. It's actually, in today's world, it's actually really important to stay on top of communication, and communication is really everything, like it has been for a while in the unified communication industry. Whether it's phone calls, meetings, collaboration, everyone really relies on it. Everything relies on it, right? Every business does. What happens when your system goes down? That's really where our solutions come into play.
Yeah, One-Click Failover is exactly as it sounds. One click and you're switched to backup channels. No hassle, no disruptions, just smooth communication to keep your team up and running.
And it's really not just about one-click failover, right? There's other solutions that we provide. We've also got CT Cloud SIP, which ensures your calls to continue through alternative channels during an outage. It'll allow you to never miss an important conversation.
Plus, there's CT Cloud Boost, which uses SD-WAN technology to prioritize and optimize your network traffic. This ensures your calls stay clear and your meetings stay on track no matter the challenge.
So in short, CallTower has you covered. Whatever your needs may be, we're here to help. Thanks for joining us today. Now, at this time, what I'm going to do is I'm going to pass it over to William and Cade, and they're going to go into to show you how easy it is to stay connected with CallTower.
Today we're going to talk a little bit about Microsoft Teams solutions from CallTower. Then we're going to talk about the Microsoft Teams failover options that are available from CallTower. We'll get into CT Cloud Boost. Then we'll get into our dynamic E911 systems. And finally, we'll wrap things up with the CallTower Advantage. With that, I'm going to go ahead and turn things over to William to get into those Microsoft Teams solutions.
So let's dive a little bit into some of the what we call rapid acceleration that we've been seeing on the Microsoft side. I think there's no secret that everybody knows Microsoft Teams is obviously here to stay. They've had substantial growth on the Teams side, going up to about 320 million users. We haven't seen a new one. There's rumor that it's about 350 right now. You see that in some reports, but Microsoft really hasn't come out to really give a full confirmed answer as far as what they're seeing out there. But regardless, whether it's 320 or 350, I mean, that's just a big number. The ironic thing is that when you really look at where the team phone users are, you can see that that's about 20 million. So you're talking about less than 10% are actually taking advantage of the phone system with Microsoft. And this is encompassing everybody that's either in direct routing, operator connect from an operator, a direct routing partner like CallTower, we're both, or even going to Microsoft directly. So it's a real small amount when you really kind of put that into perspective overall. So there is a lot of greenfield there, right? There's a lot of opportunity for us to go work together as our partners and work with customers to make sure that we're driving the right solution for those customers. And then, when you start to look at some of the other things with like Teams Room Phone, you can see that that's up 30% year over year, right? So really great to actually see that everybody's really collaborating in a conference room and across multiple conference rooms, and that number continues to grow up. And then when you look at what's Copilot, right? What's that really added overall? You can see that the interactions per user is up 50%, right? 30,000 customers are using Copilot Studio, which is basically where everything starts, to customize it for their users. And that's 175% increase quarter over quarter. So these are some pretty staggering numbers when you really start to look at what Copilot is doing, what Voice is doing within a Microsoft Teams environment, and then just what Microsoft Teams is doing overall within the Office 365 ecosystem for Microsoft. Some pretty exciting stuff overall. And again, when you look at the numbers, and I kind of talked about these a little bit there, 350 of the suite users overall. Some people say that's the monthly active users overall. When you look at what's the breakdown by organization, now there's no surprise here that obviously enterprise customers, which usually Microsoft kind of ranks at 1,000 users or more, is going to sit pretty high overall because of the fact that they have more users. But when you start to look at that SMB and that mid-size, right, this is where Microsoft traditionally had always done kind of a bad job overall with customers. And you can see that it's pretty much inching along the way, right? 18 and 26 overall, those are some pretty good numbers. And that number's already almost about a year old, and be getting some new updated numbers on that overall. Again, 20 million users for Teams Voice. You're seeing increases, whether it be on minutes, whether it be on enterprise customers using it, or whether it be an active users. Just everything just continues to go up as more people are resonating or migrating more to the cloud, and understanding that Microsoft is definitely one of the better solutions out there overall for collaboration and for voice. So let's talk a little bit about CallTower and our relationship with Microsoft. I think there's no secret that we are a big Microsoft shop, right? We've been in a relationship with Microsoft going back to 2008, so obviously about 16 years that we've been a partner with them. We were designed as this, what they call Microsoft Solutions Partner for Modern Workforce back in 2022. Now, that might not seem like a long time ago, and it isn't, but we've had different designations. Microsoft just changes them. So like we've been a Microsoft partner with CSP since 2013. We've had our SPLA agreement, for the folks that know what that is, since 2008. So their terminology changes, but what doesn't change is the good relationship that we have with our partners on the Microsoft side, and also with Microsoft itself. And the other thing is, when you start to look at this, you can start to see that the integrations of what we provide around Microsoft with different things like CT Cloud, which is Metaswitch at its core, which is owned by Microsoft, just brings a lot of services to our customers that are just necessary evils, right? That we need, whether it want to be something like devices or integrations with CRM or CCaaS, or just the voice, or even SD-WAN, those different types of things that we're able to go ahead and provide for our customers, analytics, text messaging, et cetera overall. So why are customers, choosing us for Teams, right? And let's dive into it. Failover, right? We all know that failover is a big thing, right? So when we're looking at failover with Microsoft, our customers that had one of our failover options, guess what? They weren't down, right? I mean, it's very simple to go ahead and say. Now, does Microsoft go down often? No, it does not. But it's always good to know that you have an option out there that you could use with somebody like CallTower to make sure that your employees are productive and can continue to work, especially when it's so important during the day that you don't want to get any of those interruptions. Reliability. Now, Microsoft here recently changed this, so this is kind of a little bit old, but they're at about 5 nines as well. They're not meeting the 5 nines right now, but so is CallTower, so we're able to go ahead and provide you that 5 nines of reliability. And we do have our SLA, so we do put our money where our mouth is, especially on the voice side. And then when you start looking at some of the call plans, whether it be individual call plans for different countries that we have now spanning pretty much the entire globe, or when you're just looking at a per metered rate, when you're calling outbound and so forth, that you need that, or calling plans for contact center users, we have all that, right? And we're going to customize that based on the needs of your employees and your organizations and your business units. And then different things like reports and analytics, right? I mean, you want to make sure to go in there and say, who's using the collaboration? Who's making and receiving voice calls, right? Those different types of things. Also, what's my latency like, right? I mean, is it a user that's calling from somewhere that is a little bit more remote and challenging, or is it actually my internal network that's causing the issue? And then different things like DID inventory. Hey, I need to have extra DIDs, so I either acquire a company, or if I go ahead and I need to add more users, I have that stuff. And then different additional features, whether it be paging, eFax, call monitoring, different things like that. That again, these are just things you're not going to get from Microsoft, even hardware that we could provide for your users. And then do it yourself, right? With Microsoft, you're going to have to do it yourself. It's going to be more expensive. You're going to have nowhere to go with support. So I could go on and just spend the entire webinar about why customers are choosing us over Microsoft, even over some of the other competitors that we have out there in the industry. But I think overall, when you look at it, we definitely provide some really good differentiators. And then when you're really focusing on Operator Connect, right, the full digital journey within the Microsoft Teams admin. And anybody out there could say, oh, direct routing and Operator Connect is the same thing. It's not the same thing, folks. Okay, it is not. The one who's telling you that is somebody who's on direct routing that cannot provide you Operator Connect. All right, let's call a spade overall. So I think when you look at that, you got to realize that Operator Connect is an invite only. There's about 90 or so providers. We were one of the first 5 going back to October of 2021. So now coming up on 3 year, actually already a 3-year anniversary, September. Actually, I misspoke. It was September. But the reason you want to go there is because it provides more controls for the administrators within the organizations that are using Office 365 and using Microsoft Teams, right? We're going to help you reduce those local telco contracts across the globe that we could span roughly in about 100 plus countries that we could provide services to you. The fact that you're going to have the 24/7 support, the fact that you're able to go ahead and have those minutes and assigned phone numbers provisioned all within one portal, right? One depository for you to use. And the fact that we have all these different carriers that we're using to go ahead and connect to and make sure that we can connect so we can give you that peering so that the voice quality is not sacrificed, whether you're calling somewhere in Southeast Asia or calling somewhere down in Latin America or calling in North America, we're going to provide you that best quality. And then the direct connectivity across the globe to Microsoft, right? I think that that's very important when you're looking at something like Operator Connect with their maps, with their Microsoft Azure peering services that we're connected to overall. And then those key add-ons that we talked about, even some simple things like a receptionist console that make a difference. We're going to talk a little bit more here about our E911. And then you start talking about the centralized billing, right? I want it broken out by location or by different users or by business units. The fact that you have no equipment on site that you need, right, overall, or any maintenance, we do all that heavy lifting for you. Again, reasons why people, the last one was why people are moving to Microsoft Teams or CallTower, and this is really why Operator Connect and what's the advantage that we provide. Again, analytics, call recording compliance, all the bells and whistles from a feature standpoint that we provide. So we talked about this, right? Or I really just kind of mentioned it about the enhancement with the 95 plus countries overall, and that number keeps increasing in over 6,000 cities that we have on a global level. You know, those are important things to actually work with customers or be able to provide to our customers and that flexibility. And again, when you look at our network, this is CallTower, right? Now we have connections with our providers all over the globe, even in Latin America overall, but these are CallTower owned that we do work with overall, which I think is very important and key for customers to understand that you're dealing with us directly pretty much across the globe. So let's dive a little bit here into our failover options, right? I mean, that's really what we're subject about is more here today. So we all know again that Microsoft had an outage last week, right? It happens. You know, when you really start to think back of what Teams does, Teams is not just a voice platform, right? It's a collaboration platform. And a lot of people really talk about that, but I don't think in a lot of cases they know actually what that means, right? Overall. So when you start talking about the fact that it's providing presence on your software, so it's giving you the option to know where people are located. If you're in a meeting, out of the meeting, out of an office, presenting, non-presenting, on do not disturb, et cetera. I mean, that's pretty big, right? It's not a big deal if you're sitting in an office next to somebody, but it's a pretty big deal when you have one user in New York and you have another user in England and you have another user in Brazil, right? It's really important, especially with different types of timeframes that we all have to deal with overall. When you also look at the fact that it's integrating and providing the voice and audio and video conferencing solution for your services or for your customers or your employees, that's pretty big, right? So that's just another asset of it overall. Add the desktop sharing part of it, right? Now you're at 3 different major items that is providing the integration with your calendar, that you can see all your calendar invites and join right within Microsoft Teams. The fact that it integrates with your Outlook, so you could use your Outlook and Microsoft Teams together simultaneously is important. And then, oh yeah, it does voice, right? So think about all those things that have to work simultaneously to make sure that the end user experience is great. And I think sometimes we kind of forget all the processing that it's doing behind the end because it's not just a PBX, it's a collaboration tool, right? Overall. And I think that that's very important for people to realize when it is that they're using Microsoft Teams and when it's working, and sometimes when there is a glitch, what happens, right? So I think, you know, when we start talking about it, what does it mean to have a CallTower failover option, right? And when you look at failover options with Microsoft Teams, I always kind of use an analogy of a car, right? So if you happen to have a car and the window won't roll up or roll down, you could still use the car, right? But the car, it needs some work, right? Because you got to fix the window. Now the engine could be down in the car, and then obviously then you need to take it into the shop. But the same thing works within Microsoft Teams, right? A certain part of it could be down, but not necessarily meaning that the entire thing is out. So we really try to focus on when I can't make a phone call or receive a phone call, right? That's in our DNA. That's really what we provide to our customers. So we want to make sure that our customers, which it is critical to communicate whether it be internally or externally with customers and vendors. That's what you want to make sure that you're providing, or at least giving them the options overall. And that's what we do, excuse me, when you look at our voice and data network with the support that we provide and a lot of those failover options that we're connecting into that maps connections, which again is required for Operator Connect. And we do have now in 4 different continents, right? We have it down in South Africa, I'm sorry, South America, in North America, over in EMEA, in Europe, and obviously over in Southeast Asia, over in Asia as well. So we have it, and it's just connecting directly to Microsoft, being in the same location of Microsoft overall. So when you start to look at it, the first thing is, what are some of the things that Microsoft 365 or Microsoft Office 365 can provide, right? SIP trunking to your legacy PBXs, whether it's a premise-based, Avaya or Cisco or so forth. We can plug right into that, port your numbers over to us, and then you migrate your users over to Microsoft Teams as quickly or as slowly as you want, right? Analog devices, I mean, they're here to stay, right? I mean, I can't tell you how often we talk about faxing and overhead paging and door buzzers and those different things that we just need, that just, it's part of our everyday life, right? That we need, that are critical to our solution. Call center, right? Sometimes you have a robust call center, sometimes you have a real small one. But again, the fact that that flexibility is there, and then that synergy between multiple platforms to make sure that you can connect back and forth, you want to make sure that you have all the right, failover options. So when you're looking first and foremost at one variation, now we have many, so we're going to go over a couple here. But when you look at, or a few, when you look at variation 1, here we're really talking about a backup auto attendant. So this is more kind of for an office or for a group or a department, that all of a sudden you work with CallTower Connect, right, with our central processing platform or call processing platform, and it goes into Teams. But if there happens to be an issue with it overall, if that Microsoft Teams goes down, you could actually have an auto attendant that feeds into it so that it could automatically go into the different hunt groups and to the different users within your environment, right? So basically it stops the call from going into Microsoft Teams so that your users don't get it. This call cannot be completed, or you get a fast busy. It pretty much eliminates that by going ahead and providing this option. So this could be for a department, it could be for an office. It's usually the way that it's set up. And the great thing is that it's automated, right? So the good thing is that you can have this and you can say, hey, if you do not reach Teams for whatever reason, then I want you to go to the auto attendant that I have set up as a backup as my failover calling path, right? That's really kind of the main thing that you want. You can see that delay from the CallTower platform over to Teams and then down to that secondary auto attendant, you're talking about 2 seconds, right? It's taken me a lot longer to explain it than 2 seconds. But again, pretty flexible, as what it could do. The next one, the variation 2 that we're talking about more, is when we really start talking more about voicemail to the end user, right? So this is now, again, same type of concept. Maybe your executive team, your sales team, anybody in the organization that says, hey, I need to be able to communicate back and forth. You have this variation that you could say, again, if you do not hit, or if you cannot connect into a Microsoft Teams environment for whatever reason, then I want you to go to a voicemail, so at least that I could capture that phone call. So you will get the information of the caller that called, whether they left a voicemail or not. And then when you have the ability to go ahead and respond back or listen to the voicemail, you'll have that ability. So at least the caller, that incoming call, is getting something on the other end, instead of, again, getting, that fast busy and not being able to communicate with somebody. So at least they could actually, go ahead and do that. And when you're looking also at some personal devices, right? So this is now basically, you could say, hey, I'm in the office or I'm out of the office, and the call comes in, and again, Microsoft Teams is not working. I just wanted to go to my house line. I wanted to go to my mobile device, right, to my personal device. I wanted to go to another alternative device. It will automatically go ahead and do that as well as a failover calling path. And again, that processing is pretty quick back and forth to make sure that a user can call in. Now, there are some caveats to that, right? Like in some cases, if it is going over to your mobile device, you got to make sure that if your mobile voicemail is going to pick up, if it's your personal message or your personal voicemail message, that you might want to change that, or make sure to pick it up in a certain amount of time. Some people, it doesn't matter, but just those are some of the caveats that you want to make sure that you're able to go ahead and do, and you can do that. So you have the one that is basically set up for an office or for a specific business unit or department, or maybe your call center, right? Those type of things, which is that auto attendant failover. Then you have the voicemail one, which is obviously more for a user, or it can be also for a group, right? So it just could be for a group as well if you wanted to. And then you have this one, which is again more of a personal one. You can say, hey, roll over to my cell phone if I don't answer. And if my cell phone doesn't answer, go to my house phone, or if you happen to have one, or again, it could wind up in your voicemail. So you can have multiple different variations of these working together as well. And again, it's just different strokes for different folks. It just really depends on what you feel more comfortable with. And then the one that we really love, which is something I think that's very important for our customers, is kind of a little bit catastrophic, I'd say. I don't want to say it's doomsday, but it really is a one-click failover, right? Now, when we talk about all those three different types of options that I mentioned prior to this one, I think when you look at those options, those are all great to invoke or to have them set up. But the one-click failover is very, very unique. This leverages CallTower Connect to the fullest, because what it does is you can have a predefined template of what you want to happen to all your users, or a specific group of users, or a specific group of telephone numbers. And with one click, literally going into CallTower Connect, our admin portal, and clicking on the one button, you could enable that entire template so that everything across your organization is moved over to whatever option you had pre-programmed. Right. So that's pretty cool. I mean, this is really a doomsday type of stuff. You can say, hey, look, offices are down on a global level, right? I'm invoking one-click failover. Boom. I'm clicking on it from an admin standpoint, wherever I'm at in the office, or whatever office I'm at, even from home. I could do that, and it's going to go ahead and move everybody over. And I don't have to go in there and either pre-program or go in there by individual user or individual group. It will go ahead and it will do it for you overall. So I think that that's pretty powerful when you kind of see this option and then you look at the other options. And again, it might be a combination. You might say, hey, I want one-click failover for my support team or my sales team or my executive team. But for everybody else, I just wanted to go to voicemail. Or for this one group, which is critical, that is bringing in all the sales or bringing in all the money, or my client success team or my support team, however it is, right? Any group, marketing, finance, etc. Doesn't really matter. You could actually set up the individual one that works best for your organization overall. So a lot of options there. I do recommend that you talk to your CallTower contact. Our solution architects are also there to walk you through this to make sure that we can provide you the right one. And the flexibility is there, right? What might work great this year, you might want to look at doing something a little bit more enhanced next year, and we're able to go ahead and do that for you overall. There's also some other things that you can do from a network side. Now, this is a partnership that we have on our CT Cloud Boost. We kind of call it SD Internet, right? It is really what it was. Some people think it's SD-WAN. It's kind of a little different overall, but when you're looking at the internet, it really is no longer a utility, right? I mean, it's kind of in the middle of your network of how you're communicating back and forth overall. And that's really what something like CT Cloud Boost does, that when you start to look at some of the challenges and some of the issues with your internet connections, right? What can you go ahead and do to actually make it better, or to make sure that you're not down, overall, right? Now, some people say, well, I have an alternative connection, right? I might have just a dedicated fiber connection coming in from the local carrier, and my backup is, maybe a cable connection, right? Something a little bit less from a cost standpoint, but those aren't working together. And what we always tell customers is, why aren't they working together? Why not go ahead and use our CT Cloud Boost to actually go ahead and integrate those two together so that you can take advantage of the bandwidth that's available. So now you get faster streaming of all your different applications that you need. And at the same time, one's going to fail over to the other, right? So if one's not working, it doesn't really matter. Your employees are still using it because it's basically throttling everything through the one SD-WAN pipe or CT Cloud Boost, I should say, directly to go ahead and work. And these are some of the things when you start to look at the 3.5 hours of unproductive downtime, right? Of unusable performance, $8,000 per hour that you use when you lose the internet that your employees are losing. I mean, those are some pretty hard costs to go ahead and try to come back from. So we have this ability to actually even look at your network, provide you some of the network options. So if you want some diversity there, and then provide also the equipment and the tools that we could provide that failover from one to the other. And it kind of looks like this when you're starting to look at whether it's CT Cloud, Cisco, Boost, Microsoft and Zoom and so forth. Kind of gives you the idea of where everything comes in, how it goes into CallTower, and then how it's connecting to all those different applications that we use on a daily basis, right? Whether you're surfing the internet and you're doing a search in Google, whether you're using Salesforce such as CRM or Dynamics, or going to Adobe or going to Apple or Zoom for conferencing, et cetera, et cetera. I mean, the list just goes on and on of what you're actually doing. And the other thing too is that when you look at our CT Cloud Boost, again, that failover is part of it, right? So this is more of a network failover overall, but it also gives you some real-time connections into, I think right now it's over 1,000 apps, right? So what it's basically doing is it's not saying, hey, go from my end user to my nearest office and then from there go to Salesforce. No, it's going directly from my end user, since I'm using CT Cloud Boost, directly into Salesforce, which I think is very important. So you're streamlining. It's kind of like having your own HOV lane, right? That you have. Everybody knows that we all love those on the highway, but now you have basically your own proprietary that you actually have to just get from point A to point B. And it just drives better efficiency for the network, less congestion on the network, so that your overall performance and utilization just goes up overall. So you get better, what we like to call quality of service overall. So now let's switch a little bit over to dynamic E911. I think this is pretty important to talk about because we're all talking about failover and emergency services. But first and foremost, CallTower is 100% compliant. I think it's very important to understand that. We have the carriers law, which for those that don't know, it just basically means that you can pick up any phone and you can dial 911. And as simple as that might sound, carriers law was created because of the fact that in some traditional old phone systems, you have to press 9 or 8 to get to an external line. Well, if you have to pick up the phone, you got to dial 8 and then hit 911, right? That's a problem. So what carriers law was basically invoked, that anytime somebody just picks up any phone, you don't have to use a prefix before to get an outside line. You hit 911, it's automatically going to go ahead and get that. So any premise-based system, there's really more to work with premise-based solutions that are out there overall that it does work with. And then we're looking at Ray Baum's Act. This is where kind of that E911 comes into play. This is really what we're talking about. We call it PSAP, which stands for Public Safety Answering Point, which what you want to make sure is that you understand what that dispatchable location is for your emergency service providers that are going out there, right? So in a lot of cases, it's having the right street address, having even a suite number that's available, an apartment number that you have, so that when the first responders get there, a few seconds could be the difference between life and death. You don't want to walk into an office building and sit there and have to look for the directory to see that floor 5, somebody's having an issue, right? Someone's having a health issue. So, I mean, I know it sounds extreme, but again, those really make a big difference within a few seconds. And then when you look at dynamic E911, right, you can see here on the bottom left-hand side of the image, you can see this is edit your address. So for those folks like me that are road warriors that we're traveling, when I get from one point to the next point, I know I'm going to be in a hotel room, I'm going to be in an office building, I could change my E911 right within my portal, right within Teams, so that if I do have to use 911 in North America or in the US, it's really going to go ahead and it's really going to go to the place that I'm at. If not, it's going to go to whatever registered address I have for that telephone number. So you want that flexibility to actually be there overall. And I think that's some things that are important that we bring to the table that, again, we're going to walk you through those and be customizable for it, but to really make sure that we drive those options. That's where we say that we like to provide a solution and not just a product to our customers.
Thanks for joining us today. We hope you learned how One-Click Failover and our other solutions can keep your business communications alive, even during unexpected outages. If you have any questions or would like to schedule a free consultation, don't hesitate to reach out. My contact information is on the screen. Until next time, stay connected and stay ahead.